Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Welcome to a new episode of the Mo Show podcast. This is the first episode we do that is done remotely. I'm in our studios in Jeddah, Saudi Arabia, and my guest today is in Princeton University in the East Coast of the US. It's a real honor to introduce Professor Bernard Haykel, who is a professor of Near Eastern Studies at Princeton University and one of the most respected voices on Middle Eastern geopolitics. For decades, he studied the religion, the politics, the history of this region, bringing perspective that is both deeply academic and closely connected to the people shaping events on the ground. He has particular expertise in Saudi Arabia and the Gulf, with a forthcoming book on the kingdom coming out soon, which we'll get into. Professor Bernard grew up in Lebanon, so Middle East is not just a subject that he studies, but a place obviously very near and dear to him. Professor Haykel, it's an honor to have you on the show.
It's a real pleasure. I've been a huge fan of your shows, and it's a thrill to be on it now for the first time.
Oh, that you put a spring in my step. As we're about to start this, I watched your recent interview on Bloomberg maybe three or four times in preparation for this, and hoping that I can delve in and ask you a bunch of things related, obviously, to the region. The first question I have for you, Professor Haykel, is that you've obviously studied this region for decades. When you look at the Middle East today compared to, for example, a decade ago, is there a single biggest shift that you can see?
I mean, there are actually several big shifts all simultaneously happening. I mean, of course, where you're sitting in Saudi Arabia, the biggest shift has been in the country finally deciding that they're going to diversify the economy. And we can see this in the social transformation and the economic transformation of the country. I never, ever thought that Saudi Arabia would transform in this way and as quickly. And to me, it indicates a realization that the world has changed, and you have a new leadership that realizes that there's an energy transition happening and that the dependence on oil is in the long term unsustainable. So that the country has to open up and has to build new sectors in the economy. I mean, that's the biggest change, certainly, I think, as far as Saudi is concerned. I mean, the other change that I see is also a very serious decline in sort of pan-Arab and pan-Islamist ideologies. Like we see, we see that the Muslim Brotherhood and other Islamist organizations are on their back foot because their projects, failed. And we can see a failure again of this in the regime in Iran, which is, of course, not Muslim Brotherhood, but is a Shiite version of Islamism. And of course, that gets me to the third huge transformation, and that is the weakening of the Iranian regime across the Middle East and in Iran itself. And that is still an ongoing process, and we don't know where that's going to end up.
Is there a dichotomy between the GCC states who, really want to create a prosperous future versus other areas of the Middle East that aren't really on the same wavelength as that? Is there a split that you see?
Yeah, I think there's a major split, actually, between regimes that are ideological and that have transnational ambitions, Iran being one, Israel is another, that wants to kind of reshape the region in its own image and decide what the region looks like. And then you have other regimes that are more nationalist, more inward-looking. They also have a vision for the region, but it's one of an economically integrated set of states that are engaged in commerce, engaged in transportation and tech and education and so on. And they're more interested in development and economic development and of their countries. So the split is sort of between the ideological and the revisionist states. And here I include both Israel and Iran. And then the states that really are much more focused on economic development and the prosperity of their own people. And then there are sort of regimes that are not clear where they are. So Turkey, for instance, is a regime that hasn't decided which camp. It sometimes plays, with footsie with both sides, both ways of thinking about things. But I'm hopeful that Turkey will eventually fully join the camp of, the Saudis, the UAEs, the Qatars, the Kuwaits, and so on.
Very strong economy there, with a great future. With what happened 10 days ago, were you surprised when you heard that the U.S. struck? And is it different this time?
Yeah, I mean, I was not surprised that there was another war against Iran, because the Israelis have been signaling that they want to do this and they want regime change and they want to bring down the regime in Iran. And Iran is at its weakest ever. So sooner or later, the Israelis were going to attack. And I think this was well known to the leadership across the GCC that this was going to happen. What I was somewhat surprised by was the extent to which the Americans joined that war. It wasn't clear that President Trump was on board with that, because he was constantly arguing against these forever wars in the Middle East. And I think what changed it for the Americans, and specifically for President Trump, is that he was convinced that what he was able to do in Venezuela, which is to get rid of the leader, cut a deal with a new leadership, a more moderate leadership in Venezuela, could be replicated in Iran. And that is something that is not possible. The Iran regime is a very different regime from the Venezuelan, much harder, much more ideological. And then what didn't surprise me either was the Iranian reaction to this attack. Once Iran felt existentially threatened, that is, the regime felt existentially threatened, they launched this well-prepared campaign of basically scorched earth policy of burning the entire region, making it extremely costly for the Americans through an attempt at a global economic recession, and then threatening energy supplies, about 20% of gas and oil supplies to the world. This was pre-planned by the Iranians. They've been preparing for blocking Hormuz for a long time. And again, the Americans didn't think through what that would mean in practice. They thought this would be a very quick and easy campaign, and it has turned out not to be. And at the moment, we're in a war of attrition where the Iranians are trying to extend this war as long as possible to make the Americans pay a very heavy price in order to reestablish deterrence so that Iran is not attacked again in the future.
All GCC countries were hit to some degree, the UAE taking the brunt of the 3,300 missiles to the tune of, 80% maybe of the rockets the UAE took. Where does Dubai go from here, for example?
So, the Iranians are clearly trying to destroy the UAE brand and that specific image that they have of being an island of stability in a region that is in chaos most of the time. And of course, the Iranians themselves have used the UAE for money laundering and for payments and so on. The future of this vision that the UAE has, and by the way, it's a vision that's shared also by Saudi Arabia, which is that these are islands of stability, depends on how long this war lasts and how damaging it is. So, the analogy is the Lebanese civil war. So if you go back to 1975, initially people in Lebanon and all the expats who lived in Lebanon thought that this would just pass. This is just a month or a couple of weeks and we'll come back and so on. And then eventually the Lebanese civil war lasted over 15 years. It didn't end until 1990. By then, the destruction was complete of the country and everyone had left. The country lost, the tourism sector, the banking sector, everything. And, if this war lasts a long time, which I hope it doesn't, and I don't expect it to, then people will come back.
On the subject of Saudi, you've described Saudi as the status quo power, a country that seeks stability and calm in a region that is so focused on building and development. Yet domestically, what's happening in Saudi Arabia under Vision 2030 feels anything but status quo. How do you reconcile those two dynamics?
So when I say that Saudi is a status quo power, I mean that its outlook on the kind of regional and global politics, it wants stability, it wants order, it wants to be able to have a free market, a peaceful exchange of goods and people and services without disruption, right? So, and that world in which it is in favor of is a world that was built by America after World War II, right? So this is the kind of global international order that's called rules-based. And that's something that the Saudis have benefited greatly from. This is how Saudi Arabia prospered after the Second World War. And Saudi has a stake in that system because it's invested in it. right? And wants to maintain it. Um, in order to fully remain in that system, Saudi Arabia has to become less dependent on oil, because for the longest time it was dependent for its revenues, the government that is, on oil revenues, and then it would redistribute these revenues to its population in the form of public sector jobs and free education and free medical services and no taxation and building out of infrastructure. All of that is not possible in a world that is moving away from oil. Eventually that will happen in several decades, and that where oil will become less valuable. So you have to build out your economy to remain in that system that you value. And so what you see in terms of the domestic transformation is certainly not status quo. It's in fact trying to change Saudi Arabia, to transform it into what the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia calls a normal country, right? So by a normal country, what he means is a country in which you have a kind of socially liberal order. People are free to work, whether they're male or female. They're free to dress any which way they want. They're free to have fun, be religious, not be religious, basically a kind of a society in which people don't interfere with each other and bother each other and impose their views on each other, in order to then have people working in the private sector so that you have a dynamic and prosperous private sector. So that's what this transformation domestically is about. And I agree with you. If you're a Saudi, it doesn't feel normal, and it doesn't feel like, you feel like a revolution is happening in the country, right? And that is true. There is a kind of social revolution and an economic revolution that's happening, and it's not easy. And there's a 15% VAT tax in Saudi. You don't have that in the UAE. It's only 5% in the UAE, and in other countries it doesn't exist at all. So things are changing, and change involves pain, and that's bound to be the case. And anecdotally, what I see in Saudi Arabia when I visit, and I visit 4, 5, 6 times a year, and I've spent long periods of time there, anecdotally, I get the feeling that young people, so anyone under 35 roughly, is very much in favor of everything that's happening in the country, and they think this is a great thing, and they see opportunities that they didn't see before. People who are older, like mid-40s and above, are not happy because the rules are changing. Things are no longer the way they used to be. The old settled order is being transformed, and that's very uncomfortable. And it's normal. That is completely normal for people to feel that way.
I'm in my early mid-40s, and my generation are loving the changes that are happening. Maybe, but a lot of people talk about, cinemas are open and we have all this entertainment and women are driving. I think my favorite stat is that during my growing up years, Professor, women employment was 2.5%, 3%.
Right.
Today, it's in the late 30%.
Yeah.
I mean, look at how many times over more women have entered the workforce, and that's because of the opportunities that never existed for them that are on the ground available today.
That's true. And also, you have to think, when you look at the population pyramid of Saudi Arabia, actually the older people are much fewer than the younger people. So you're talking about the vast majority of the population that likes what's happening versus the kind of younger, the smaller percentage of the population that's older, that may have reservations and that doesn't feel comfortable with the change. The other thing that I want to say is that there are unintended consequences of this change. So for instance, Saudi Arabia was one of those countries where you had a very high fertility rate. When women weren't working, in the scenario you described, where you're talking 2-3% women's labor participation, now many more women are working, so they're having fewer children. So the fertility rate has gone down very significantly and very quickly in the country. And that was something that was unanticipated and unexpected.
Professor, you have a forthcoming book on Saudi Arabia that's coming out. Can you tell us a little bit about it?
Yeah. So the book is really a kind of political and social and economic history and cultural history of the country of Saudi Arabia, and it tries to explain that history, and through that history tries to explain the rise of the Crown Prince and his ideas on transformation and reform. So it's kind of a biography of the country and a biography of the Crown Prince simultaneously. It tries to do both, and I try to trace some of his ideas, whether they're economic or political or cultural or social, across time in Saudi history, right? So that's what I hope to do. I hope it proves successful. I'm not sure. It's also the first time that I write a book that's for a general public and not just an academic book. Academic books, you can get very technical and have lots of footnotes and so on. And with general public books, you have to simplify things and make things understandable to a general audience that's not a specialist audience. So that's what the book is about. And to do this book and to write this book, I interviewed hundreds of Saudis, and from the Crown Prince, with whom I've met many times now for many hours at a time, and spend time shadowing him in government meetings and so on, to his opponents, to people who really dislike him, who are in exile. I've interviewed them as well, to everyone in between, from journalists to young people to entrepreneurs to oil executives to just ordinary, Saudis who are cashiers and not working in fancy jobs, Uber drivers, women, men, people from the West, people from the center, people from the East, across the sectarian divides. And I've traveled all over the country as well, from Najran in the south all the way up to Sakaka in the north. And so, yeah, I've seen a lot of the country, and I love Saudi. I mean, I've just always had a deep kind of affection for the country and its culture, for several reasons. Let me just outline what those reasons are. So first, it's a country that's vilified in the West. I mean, many people hate it because I think there's a lot of antagonism and racism against Muslims and against Arabs. And because in liberal Western society, you can't say that, often that gets transposed onto Saudi Arabia. So you can say anything you want about Saudi Arabia, but it's actually what you're saying is, I don't like Muslims, I don't like Arabs, but you just say Saudi instead of that.
Yeah.
So that's one reason, so it's the fact that it's vilified, I find, and stereotyped and essentialized, I find that disturbing, because I see it as a very kind of complex, like all societies, a very complicated place, a very rich place culturally, historically. So that's one reason why I've always been intrigued by it. The other is that Saudi Arabia was not colonized. And I think, like Yemen, North Yemen, countries that haven't been colonized are very different from Arab countries that have been colonized, say Egypt or Lebanon or Syria or other countries. So countries that haven't been colonized have a particular identity that is in continuity with the past. You have fewer ruptures. You do have ruptures with the past, but they're fewer. And so I find that also particularly fascinating about the kingdom.
I mean, you said that you've spent many hours shadowing, being around MBS in meetings. Is there a immediate or a specific takeaway you took from him?
Look, he's a very, very charismatic individual. He's very impressive. I mean, like you're talking about someone who really has to have mastery of, thousands of subjects and topics, from relations to America to what's the latest problem, with, with the highways in the kingdom, to how do I improve healthcare, to, what's going on with women, what's going on, everything, I mean, the files that he has in his head and the topics that he has to keep, it's just truly astonishing. And the mastery that he has over all these different files is remarkable. So he's a super charismatic, very smart, very ambitious for the country. It kind of reminds me a lot. I didn't know King Faisal, but I kind of think of him a bit like King Faisal, that he's basically decided to dedicate his life to the prosperity of the country and to the future of Saudi Arabia. It's kind of like almost like a monk, like a nasik or a rahib, someone who has basically like said, I have a project. The project is the transformation of Saudi Arabia, making sure it's secure, making sure it's prosperous, and I'm going to do everything for this purpose and for this goal. And I think that's basically how best to understand him, as someone who really cares deeply about Saudi, and it's clear in all his interactions. It's like so clear that this is what concerns him. Now, I sometimes have debates with him, and I have differences of opinion with him, and others too around him do too. I noticed, for instance, that in ministerial meetings, there are ministers who actually disagree with him. and tell him, we don't think this is the right way. This is the better way. I mean, they're very polite. There's extreme kind of decorum in these meetings, both from his side and from the minister's sides.
But that's so healthy, right, Professor?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's
I
extremely
don't
healthy.
think he wants to surround himself with yes men.
Yeah. Look, it's inevitable that you surround yourself with yes men if you're at that position in any system. Okay. So there are yes men around him, like there are around President Trump or around or Macron or anybody in the world. But there are also people who do have, principles, and they have courage, and they do speak their minds. I mean, again, as I said, very politely in both directions. The other thing, I noticed about him are like small things. Like, for instance, if you're sitting with him and you're his guest, and your tea or your coffee has run out, he'll notice. He'll notice that have you eaten? He's extremely kind of
attentive.
In Arabic, you say mudiyaf. He's very, very careful to know that if you're his guest, that you're being looked after. You're being well looked after. He's not like I'm not noticing you. No. He notices everything.
One thing that obviously keeps resurfacing in the region, no matter what else is happening, is Palestine.
Yeah.
A situation that's been going on for the better part of 70, 80 years. Do you see a sovereign Palestine statehood in your lifetime?
God, I hope so. And I don't see normalization between Israel and Saudi Arabia without that. So, in Israeli society, different polls, have been conducted. And I think that under normal circumstances where Israel is not at war, you do have a significant proportion of Israelis who would be willing to accommodate some form of Palestinian state. Now, it might not be the Palestinian state that we ideally want. It might be a demilitarized state. It might be a state that, doesn't have all the aspects of sovereignty that we would associate with a state. But I think that this is something that is necessary, both actually for the security and health of Israeli society, but of course for the Palestinians too. But for the region, the lack of rights for the Palestinians, the denial of their rights, is a source of constant radicalization and a source of constant instability in the region, as we see. And the Iranians have used the Palestinian card, and before the Iranians, the Nasseris, in Egypt used the Palestinian. Everyone uses the Palestinians basically, to justify whatever policies they want, whether it's against the West or oppressing their own people. And so we need to find a solution so that the Palestinians get their rights, the Israelis get their security, and then we can move on. And then in the future, we could see all kinds of combinations. Again, this EU model that the Crown Prince has in mind for the Middle East could see an accommodation of Israel and the Palestinians where basically borders become irrelevant, And so I hope that's what happened.
Would you think that a EU kind of model for the GCC, where we have unified currency, unified military, unified fill in the gap, would be of benefit to the broader GCC and Arab region?
I think that yes, but very difficult to pull off, because you see the GCC structurally consists of one big state, which is Saudi Arabia, larger than Western Europe, with, a native population of about 24 million plus another 10 million guest workers, And then you have these other much smaller states with much smaller smaller populations. And so you have this imbalance in the structure of the GCC, and the smaller states will always be worried that the big state, the 600-pound gorilla that is Saudi Arabia, will end up dominating them, right? And they don't want that. They're very jealous of their own sovereignty, of their own autonomy. And managing that balance between, the benefits of more greater unity while preserving autonomy and sovereignty is not an easy one to pull off. And so I don't see that. But what I do see happening, and what I hope happens, especially given the war that we're in right now, is that the militaries of the GCC should become much more integrated. There should be what we call in military language interoperability between different systems, so that it becomes the security of the GCC becomes one integrated whole. and so therefore much more effective at defending against an external aggressor, rather than every country doing its own thing.
Strength in numbers.
Yeah.
I can't help but feel that a few countries have just been punched in the mouth. And the other day I tweeted, the GCC comes out of this a different beast. Would you agree?
Well, I think that the vulnerability of I think that the GCC countries have always known that they're extremely vulnerable because they have these large infrastructure, infrastructure for energy. They depend on desalination, electricity generation, given the temperatures there and so on. So they've always known that they're extremely vulnerable. I think the sense of vulnerability will increase as a result of this war. And then they will probably end up spending a lot more money on defense and trying to protect themselves better. But it's a very difficult thing to pull off, because, especially for Saudi Arabia, because it's such a large territory and because the infrastructure is spread over such a wide space. It's not like Israel. Israel is a tiny little place, so it's much easier to defend. But Saudi is huge, and to defend it all is an impossible task, especially against missiles and drones. And the future, unfortunately, is going to be in the kind of warfare that we're seeing now.
What about the relationship with the U.S. bases? We were under the impression that these bases will protect us, so they seem to be more of a liability than an asset.
So, yeah, I wouldn't go that far. I mean, those bases exist because they were there to protect you against a land invasion. So they were there based on an older model of military threat, which has changed because now the Iranians developed this other form of warfare, which we see, by the way, in the Ukraine and Russia as well. So, yes, I mean, I think the architecture of defense has to change, and the nature of the relationship with American defense and protection has to be rethought. But, the connection between the United States and the GCC countries when it comes to military, equipment, training, philosophies, is many decades in the making. We're talking about 70, 80 years of integration. And it's not possible to just disentangle it, And it's not like you have something better out there, right? It's not like the Chinese are going to now deploy, 2 aircraft carriers, which they don't have, to defend you, right? Or to come to your help. And so I don't think the American GCC security relationship is going to be broken. It'll change, it'll develop, it'll adapt to this new form of warfare.
I'll close with this one, Professor. I'm conscious of your time. If you had to point to one trend in the region that gives you the most optimism about the future of the Middle East, what would it be?
So, I mean, you're asking a cynic and a pessimist a very difficult question. So, in the Middle East, if you're pessimistic, things tend to work out in your favor, unfortunately. But look, the future of the Middle East is in its youth. It's in its young population, right? I mean, basically, countries that have young peoples have a huge asset. The most important asset any country has is not the oil in the ground or, how many buildings it has. It's in its human capital. I think that if you develop, as we continue seeing the development of human capital in the GCC region and in Saudi Arabia, and hopefully also in Lebanon and in Syria and in Egypt and elsewhere, we're going to see a better future. But if we ignore human capital, if we don't educate these young people, if we don't give them opportunities, then we're in for a very long and difficult period of time ahead.
Yeah, something we should really leverage and use to our advantage. Something that a country like Japan doesn't have. They have the opposite of that.
Or China,
they have an aging population. Or China with their one-child policy that's been in place for God knows how many years now. Thank you, Professor, for your time. I appreciate it. Can you give us a little intel on when we can expect the release of your book?
So I'm in discussing it with my editor. Hopefully by the end of the year, I'm hoping. By the way, all these events that are happening are constantly making me having to rewrite
adding chapters.
And rewriting sections of the book. So yeah, hopefully once this war is over, I'll have a deadline.
Inshallah. Well, Professor, it'll be an honor to have you in our studio for a nice face-to-face long form next time you're in Saudi.
Yeah, it'll be my honor.
We're based in Jeddah, but we shoot all over the country and region. Thanks for your time,
Thank you.
Professor.
Thank you. It's
much appreciated.
A great opportunity. Thank you.
Likewise, it's my opportunity. Thank you, sir.